All right, good morning, everyone. Hope you're all doing well today. I'm going to share my screen real quick. We're going to have a PowerPoint going on a loop, which is some good information for you guys. So this information on this PowerPoint will be available for download. So you can go to the Materials tab at the top right corner if you're on the desktop version, or if you are on a browser version, maybe on the right-hand panel. But either way, you should be able to download this rotating deck that you're seeing today with some great information for you. So for the layout for today, this is going to be a come and go webinar. So if you want to post any questions that you have, feel free to go ahead and start posting those questions. We do have a team here today to help kind of get some of these questions answered for you guys. Once you get your answer, you are welcome to drop off, go take care of business, whatever you need to do. If you want to stay on for the full 2 hours, you're welcome to do that as well. We're also going to be reading out some of the questions and answers that are that are going through the chat, just so you can kind of hear some of those answers, maybe additional context as well. So with that, go ahead and start posting your questions, and we're here to support you guys. I want to make sure that we're answering your questions and giving you that support that you need. I'll give you all just a minute to kind of get some of those questions and answers in there, and then we'll get started reading some of those out loud. All right, got a question. Good morning. I have a couple questions. Are the paper vehicle specific tags or are the vehicle specific plates printed prior to 7/1 still valid, or do we have to shred them even if they have a valid date? So any of those that have been printed before July 1st are still valid. So those will remain valid for the duration of that tag. And we have a question regarding a plate issue for boxes that you have may received and trying to go through IMS to notify that. You should have received information in your emails regarding kind of the process of how to identify and verify those plates, and if you do have any issues of who to contact. We did drop that email address in there for you, which is on one of these slides as well. It's a dealer_allocations inbox. So if you do have issues with your inventory, your plate shipment, please reach out to them for further assistance. And there's a large team trying to get those assisted as well. And if you hear me go silent, just scrolling through some questions. Here's a good question. In IMS, if you transfer inventory to another facility, does this just mean that it is securely stored there, but it's still assigned to the original P number? So yeah, essentially whenever you're transferring inventory from another location or another facility, you want to make sure that that physical inventory is at that inventory location that you're transferring it to. So if you have multiple locations under the same GDN, say you have two different stores on the street, if you're transferring it, just make sure that whatever location that inventory is assigned to or being transferred to is where those physical plates are being stored securely. But yes, it does have to be within the same GDN. You cannot transfer inventory from GDN to GDN. It has to be within that same GDN. So I have about 30 from last month that need to be titled, but when I enter the title information in WebDealer, it will not let me put in the plate number. Will it be possible for me to do ePlate first, then submit the title in WebDealer? So yes, that is the vision for that to occur. However, there also are some known issues with transferring those previously assigned buyer's tags through the WebDealer system at this time. So until further notice, go ahead and submit those transactions over the counter to the county for processing for any of those transactions made prior to July 1st. Here's a good question. On the title application, how do we adjust the amount due if we're seller financing or without be adjusted by the tax office? So that's one of the great features of WebDealer is that WebDealer will automatically calculate your fees for you. So everything that has been entered into the system, whether you're transferring a specialty plate, seller finance, exempt sales tax, whatever the situation may be, WebDealer will automatically calculate those fees appropriately based on that transaction and everything that's been entered into the system. So WebDealer will make those adjustments before it even gets to the county. The question is, where can I make the IMS since I don't have the inventory button when I enter the WebDealer page? So whenever you first log into the WebDealer suite of applications, you should see 4 tiles. There should be a WebDealer, ePlate, which took place of eTag, eTitle, and inventory. That inventory icon is where you'll log into the IMS. You can also access it from any of the other screens. So if you log into WebDealer or ePlate, you can toggle between those other applications by going up underneath your name and doing a little drop down, and you can toggle between those other applications and go over to your inventory. So if you do not have that option, please reach out to our customer service number for further assistance because that option should be there for you. If a vehicle has not had a VTN done, can we still issue a metal plate? So I'm not sure if you're referring to vehicles that you've taken in before July. So if that's the case, if you currently have inventory on your lot, which I'm assuming everyone does, you do not necessarily have to do VTNs for those vehicles that were already on your lot. So after July 1st is when you want to make sure you are submitting those VTNs because that will do a couple things. It's required by the HB 718, but that also helps transfer over that inventory from that vehicle into your IMS inventory whenever that VTN is done. So if you have not had a VTN done on previous transactions, you'll just be able to issue a new general issue plate for a vehicle if you sold that. And if you are coming across any specific errors or issues that you are coming across, if you are providing any of the questions related to that in our question box, please be sure to provide us as much information as possible. So if you can provide your GDN, if you're receiving any kind of error, provide the error code, what screen you may be on, to try to help us give as much information as possible so that we can try to assist you. One of our struggles is that the questions are not threaded. So if we have to provide a follow-up question, it does not thread that information and connect those different questions to each other. So again, if you can just provide as much information as possible when first submitting that question, that will definitely help us out so that we can help you guys. All right, got a three-part question here. First one is how to add plates in inventory. So your plates that you received from the state should automatically be received in your IMS inventory. So you should not need to add them on your own. They should already be visible for you in your IMS. If you do not see them for whatever reason, a couple things: make sure you are selected to the correct dealer ID that inventory has been assigned to. That information should be in the email communications that you received regarding your plate shipments. Also make sure that your permissions are set accordingly. So the permissions are going to be set on the web dealer side, and make sure that you do have the option to view inventory for your permissions. Second question, how to get the stickers. So the stickers will remain coming from the county tax office. So once you sell a vehicle, you will assign the metal plate to the customer in place of the buyer's tag was the previous process. Your customer drives off the lot with their vehicle, and then you submit that transaction within 30 days to the county tax office through WebDealer. The county will approve and process that transaction. Once they do so, that's when that sticker is generated. And just like previously, you'll just kind of work with that county tax office to get those stickers and be able to provide those over to your customer to apply to their windshield. The third question was, where and how do we drop titles? So I'm not sure exactly what that is referring to, but if you are needing to transfer titles at the county tax office, whether the system is providing any kind of error or it's a transaction that cannot be processed in WebDealer, you just want to work with that specific county on how that needs to be submitted to that county. So it appears when eTag was changed to ePlate, it eliminated the prior temp tax issued and then unable to process sales prior to July 1st in WebDealer. Our local tax office says they won't do walk-ins. Is this correct? Will it be resolved? So yes, this issue will be resolved. The system is designed to allow the ePlate transfers and the eTag transfers to be able to process through WebDealer. However, there is a known issue with this situation. So at this time, we will ask you to take those into the county to process them over the counter at the county tax office. We are in communication with the county, so we are advising them to be sure to make sure that they are taking those transactions if this is one of those issues. But if you are able to transfer it in WebDealer, it does need to go through WebDealer. It seems our original inventory may have been ordered through our parent license and not our DBA. As of now, we're unable to issue plates and believe this is why. You need some help with that. So yeah, Jessica, what you can do is you can, as long as it's within the same GDN, you can actually transfer that inventory over to the other dealer ID within that same GDN. So there is a handout that we will drop in there for assistance on the transferring process. Frank, would you mind dropping that in the handouts?
Yes, I'll do that right now.
Perfect, thank you. So yeah, Jessica, we're going to drop a handout in the materials tab to kind of assist with that transfer process of inventory. And that should help. But if that does not, it looks like we did provide a customer service number for you. You can reach out to them if you still have issues with that. Once we process the title on a web dealer, how will the blue sticker get delivered to the customer? Does it come to the dealership or go to the customer directly? So this may vary by county, to be honest with you. I have heard that some counties may just send them directly to the customer, but for the most part, they're probably just going to work directly with you as a dealership as you have been doing in the past. But I would just kind of reach out to that specific county for that, for their process on that and kind of work that out between them. I've got a question here from Faye. We cannot see your inventory in IMS. I was told that we are showing dealer IMS codes. And you're not able to reach anyone for assistance. So, Faye, you can, a couple things. Make sure that you are viewing the correct dealer ID that inventory was assigned to. You should have received email communications letting you know which dealer ID that inventory was being assigned to. So those emails should show that information. Also make sure that your permissions are set to view the inventory in your IMS. But that inventory should be in there. Again, just make sure that those two things are done. If you do still have issues with that, definitely please try to call us back and we'll try to give you more assistance with that. And I apologize for the long wait. As you can imagine, there's several people trying to call in and having some questions, but we're trying to support you guys the best we can. But yeah, again, just make sure that your settings are set to view inventory. Those settings are going to be in the web dealer side on the permissions. Can we add the plates we had from our tax office prior to shipment into our inventory in IMS? So if you are a dealer deputy and you had inventory from your county previously, the county will be coming by the end of July to verify that inventory. Once that inventory is verified by them, they will let us know, and then the department will automatically transfer that inventory into your IMS. But until that is done, please ensure that you are using your new inventory assigned and received by the state. So do make sure you are using your new inventory for now until that has been verified and transferred to your IMS. And I'm seeing several comments and questions regarding the dealer plates, not able to assign them. So this may be a known issue that we're taking note, because it seems to be a common issue. So if you are having issues assigning dealer temporary plates, we will make sure that we pass on this information to our IT department, and so they can try to work out that issue. We apologize for any inconvenience on that. But I do see one that we need to assign test drives and transport to shops vehicles. So if you're needing them for test drives, you don't necessarily need to do a e-plate assignment for a test drive unless that vehicle is leaving your possession. So if it's just for a regular test drive, customers taking it down the street and back, you do not necessarily need to do an e-plate assignment for that. However, if they're going to be leaving with a vehicle for a couple days, that is when we want to make sure that that e-plate assignment is done. Are we able to add lessee information when we assign metal plates like we were able to with the paper tags? Yes, that option is still there. So whenever you go in to do the e-plate assignment, there will be that selection that asks if it is a leased vehicle. So yes, that does still exist. When selecting plates, do they need to be issued in order? Yes, you do want to assign those plates in sequential order as they are listed in the system, but also just be mindful that whatever plate you're assigning is the physical plate that you're putting on that vehicle. So if you do have multiple people in your office assigning plates, it may not be the next available plate that shows in the system. So again, just kind of be mindful that whatever plate physically that you're placing on that vehicle is the one that you're selecting in the plate. What do we do with the title after uploading the documents to the title application? So you will hang on to those original documents in your deal jacket for the normal retention period of 4 years. So once you scan and upload those documents into the web dealer system, again, you will keep all of those original documents in your deal jacket. What's the process of how to obtain dealer temporary plates? We keep trying to use the inventory tab yesterday. It kept giving me an error message. So for those dealer temporary plates, you're not going to do that through the inventory tab. You're going to do that through e-licensing. So for those dealer plates, again, you'll order those through e-licensing. What is the provision buyer plate? So the buyer provisional plate is the purple plate. This plate will be used anytime you do not have the appropriate inventory on hand for that specific transaction. So if you're, for instance, if you're selling a farm truck, you don't currently have that farm truck plate on hand, that's when you would use that buyer provisional plate to assign to that customer. However, if it's any kind of qualifying plate or specialty plate, so if they're wanting to apply for DV plates or antique, classic, anything like that that is either qualifying or specialty, you just assign a general issue plate, and then they would go to the county tax office to obtain that other plate that they're needing that meets their needs. But the buyer provisional plate is only for anything you do not have in your inventory that would normally be assigned to you or that is available for you to order. Also for apportion plates. So if you do have any apportion customers, then you can assign that provisional plate for them as well. All right, sorry for the silence. I'm just kind of scrolling through some of these questions. There are quite a few, but it looks like our team is getting a lot of these answered for you guys. So that's great. So there's a question, is there a deadline we have to get the plates and inventory on the site? So Brandon, we're not quite sure what you mean by that. If you're referring to if you received plate inventory, that should automatically be received for you in IMS. So there's not anything that you would need to do to get those into the inventory on the IMS. That should automatically be received for you. You do want to verify those, so you should have received email communication with further guidance on how to verify that plate inventory. But there's nothing that you should need to do on your end to receive that officially into IMS, if that is your question. For VTNs, well, we need to fill one out if it is from our store to another one of our locations. It's before the sale date. So no, you will not necessarily need to change them from one location to another, especially if it's in the same GDN. Another question is, we received our metal plates, but they're not showing in our inventory. It just shows blank, so we cannot verify any or assign plates. Wish we do if we've already called. So the inventory should appear in your IMS. If you're not able to view that, make sure you are viewing the correct dealer ID and your permissions are also set accordingly to view that inventory. So I'm also curious if you are doing this on the ePlate side or if you're viewing this inventory in IMS, because whenever you're going to do an ePlate assignment, that is automatically the inventory that should be appearing from your IMS. So if you're in the ePlate assignment and not able to view inventory in that dropdown, that may also be because maybe the same dealer ID is not connected. So again, make sure you are assigning plates from the correct dealer ID that inventory is assigned to. So in a new registration, do we assign new plate directly or provisional? So if you are selling a new vehicle, you will assign the agent or issue plate or whatever plate is applicable to that type of vehicle. So if you're a trailer dealer, then you'll assign a regular trailer plate. Or if you're a motorcycle dealer, you'll assign a motorcycle plate or whatever is applicable for that plate type. Again, that provisional is only necessary if you do not have the proper um, plate that they're requesting on hand. So if we'll go back to a trailer example, if they're wanting a farm trailer and you don't have that inventory on hand, is when you would use that provisional plate. But if it's just a regular trailer, then you will assign a regular trailer plate to that vehicle, to that trailer.
Hey, Lori, I can jump in here now.
All right, thanks. I'll continue with questions in the chat.
Thanks. So yeah, just a quick reminder, if you're just joining us, when you guys are asking these questions, please ensure that you provide the full picture. So if you need to provide like your P number or exactly what errors or issues you are having, please again give us the full details in one message so that the individual answering that question can answer it to their best ability. Again, if that's providing your P number, those error numbers, again, just let us know. Because if you have to send additional context in another message, it's going to get lost in the sea of questions. So again, please just keep it in one message and try to provide us with as much detail as possible. Moving on, this next question here. If a customer has personalized plates, what plates do we give the customer to take the vehicle with them? So if that customer chooses to transfer those personalized plates, then you can absolutely do so. You're going to assign those plates in ePlate, but you are able to transfer those plates. And we do have, again, videos that kind of walk you through that. I'll add that in the chat box, the links for the trainings. But more specifically, the ePlate training will show you when a customer has those customer supplied plates and how you could add that to the transaction. So I did add 3 different training links in the chat box. Next question, how do we order more plates? So when it comes to ordering plates, we are talking about general issue plates, the out-of-state plates, and the purple provisional plates. That is going to be utilizing the IMS, the Inventory Management System. Again, in order to be able to order, you do have to be below 50% of your allotted amount so that you can place those orders. But as soon as you hit that 49% mark, start ordering those plates. Okay. Next question. So now that the metal plates, and we will no longer be using paper tags, who will provide the window sticker for the customer and when? So the county will still be providing those registration stickers. As far as the when, again, that's just going to depend on when you guys submit those transactions through WebDealer to the county. So depending on that county and their turnaround time is going to be when that registration sticker gets produced. So some counties will again either mail those out to you. Some counties will have you come pick them up. But each county is going to be different and they'll let you know what their process is and what their turnaround time is. Okay, next question here. Do I need to put all of my inventory on the VTN or only the ones that come on July 1st and after? So this is a great question that comes up very often. So yes, any inventory that you had prior to July 1, you don't have to worry about submitting a VTN for those vehicles. We do recommend it as a best practice. However, again, it's not required. But yes, anything July 1 and on, entering your inventory, you will be submitting a VTN. Okay, and another follow-up on the training videos. So will the training videos be on demand on WebDealer or the DMV website? So you'll be able to find the trainings on the website. I do see some individuals placing links on those questions. But again, that's in the chat box and also in the handouts. Make sure you, again, download the handout before we end the webinar. On the training slide, there are going to be links for all of those different trainings. Okay, next question here. Blue plates, being the blue dealer temporary plates, do they have to be assigned to the car in e-plates and be able to use it? So again, when it comes to the assigning the blue dealer temporary plates, if it's going to be for test driving purposes, right? So if you have an individual that's going to use it for maybe 5 vehicles for test drive for a customer, you don't have to go into e-plate and assign them. However, if you are transporting the vehicle and you need to track that information, right, log it in, that is when you're going to use e-plate. And yes, you're assigning those plates in e-plate for those vehicles. Again, in the event that you need to transport it, maybe to a service location, a body shop, or maybe you're transporting it to another dealer or an auction, yes, those will be assigned in e-plate. Okay, again, another question about seeing the plates in your system. So again, those are going to be automatically received for you all. When you are in IMS, again, make sure you're utilizing the correct location, and you gotta also make sure that you're selecting that search button so that it renders those results. But again, make sure you're using that same or the correct location. Okay, next question here. For my dealers that deal with apportion plates, so your customers are needing those apportion plates, which plate are they using? So in the event that your customer needs apportion plates, yes, you will be using the purple provisional plates. Then once the regional service center provides that apportion plate to that customer, then that's when that provisional plates will get swapped out. And that's when, again, after it's been assigned, that provisional plate does have a 7-day expiration date, and that can be, a month from now. Again, you're waiting for the regional service center to provide that apportion plate. Okay, next question. Are we able to order exempt plates through IMS? So exempt plates are not one of the available plate types, so you're not going to be able to have exempt plates in your inventory. Okay, again, how do I order plates when I get low? Again, once you hit that 49% mark, you're going to utilize IMS. You're going to go in there and order the plate that you need. Okay, next question here. How do we assign general dealer plates to units that we are personally using? So if personal using is in reference to personal use, you can use the standard dealer plates, but that would be through e-plate. Because again, blue dealer temporary plates cannot be used for personal use. They can only be used for business purposes. However, you still have the option to use the standard dealer plate for personal use, which yes, you can use e-plate to assign those. Okay, next question here. When it comes to issuing those internet down receipts, will you be issuing a general issue plate along with them? That is correct. So you will be issuing a general issue plate, being those metal plates, to that customer. You'll provide them with that receipt. You'll hold on to your guys' receipt so that once the internet does come back up, you're inputting that information and assigning that plate. But yes, it will be the general issue plates that you are assigning, again, as long as that's applicable to that transaction. Okay, next question here. What do we use for export vehicles? So when it comes to export vehicles, what you're going to need to do, and this is going to be done either by the dealer or the customer, those red temporary registration plates will need to be applied for, and that will be done either at a regional service center or a county tax office. But again, those will be applied for by either the dealer or the customer. It's going to be a business practice on how you determine that so that that vehicle can be used for export. Okay, there's two options to assign plates in ePlate. So you have the license plate assignment and the dealer plate assignment. Which is the correct option for the blue plate? And the other one is that for normal plates for the customer. So yes, the top option, the one that is just the dealer, or not the dealer plate, but the plate assignment, that one is going to be where you're issuing general issue plates. But under the dealer portion, you're going to see the dealer plate assignment option. That one is going to be for the blue plates. And that's kind of towards the middle of the drop down. Okay, next question here. The purple buyer provisional plates, are they reusable? They are not. They are for one-time use only. Okay, what are the acceptable types of storage required for license plates? Again, you're going to have the option for a locked or secured room. And then you also have the option for a safe, a steel cabinet that need to be bolted or affixed to the floor or wall. Okay, next bring up here question. In the event that you purchase a vehicle from auction or maybe from another dealer, when you go in to submit those vehicle transfer notifications, you'll mark the required fields accordingly so that you can enter in that auction's information or maybe that dealer's information so that you can submit those VTNs. Okay, again, if the customer has a personalized or DV plates, how do we transfer them? So yes, in ePlates, you're going to use that customer supplied option. Um, and then also Web Dealer will give you that option to add that plate as well. So yes, you can transfer those personalized and DV plates. If that individual is needing to apply for those plates initially, maybe it's their first time applying for DV plates, what you can do is you can issue general issue plates. That customer will apply for those DV plates. Once they receive them, then they can go to the county tax office and swap them out. And in the event that they need their first set and they have to apply for them. Okay, where can you print those internet down receipts? So that is going to be in ePlate. Again, you're going to go to the Plates tab. You're going to go um, towards the bottom of the drop down. Then you'll see the option for the internet down receipts. You click on there, it'll give you your available amount so that you can print those out, which again, we recommend printing the amount that you have. Again, our ePlate training, we do have a walkthrough on how to do so, but again, that is going to be through ePlates in the Plates tab. Okay, question here. Can dealers still transfer regular license plates to a new vehicle? So yes, you can. If you're referring to plates that you get on trade-in, then again, you have the flexibility now to reissue those plates. Doesn't have to be to the same customer, doesn't have to be to the same vehicle. It just needs to be to the same vehicle classification. And within 10 days, anything beyond that, then yeah, you are going to destroy them, which again is using some metal shears to cut them in half, take them into a metal recycler or to a regional service center. Okay, for transporting to or from auction, you do have the option to use either the standard dealer plates or the blue dealer temporary plates. You'll log that information in ePlate. Once you have that transported, then you can remove it and then reuse that plate as needed. Again, you're just going to go in there and change the assignment. But yes, either the standard dealer plate or the blue dealer temporary plate when transporting to or from auction. Okay, what is this webinar for? Again, we're utilizing this time to assist dealers here with answering any questions that they might have or assist with any issues or errors that you might be receiving. Okay, in the event that a customer does have those custom or specialized plates, an E-plate, once you've gone through the customer information, the lien holder information, and you are on that sales date information page, once you mark that it's not going to be for exports, you're going to given three different options. Again, if that's going to be titled and registered here in Texas, once you select that option, there's going to be two options that you can choose from, and that's going to be general issue plates or customer supplied. That is going to be which one you're marking so that you can attach that personalized or custom plate. Again, we do have a training that walks you through that. It's going to be our e-plate training. Okay, can these stickers be mailed to the customer by the TAC? Again, each county has their own different process. They will let you know on what that is. So it could be they mail them out to the customer. It could be they mail them out to you all. And like I said, it could also be that they have you come pick up those stickers from maybe a main location or maybe a sub location. But get with the county and they'll let you know what that process is. Okay, when it comes to the purple provisional plates, um, much like the out-of-state plate or general issue plates, once you dip below that 50% threshold, then you can start ordering them. They are not required to be returned. We advise that you educate the customer because it's in everybody's best interest to ensure that you do receive that plate back so that it can be disposed of. Um, but yeah, once you need more provisional plates, you're going to utilize IMS to order those. Okay, next question here. Where can I go to find the VTN or how can I submit? So right now you can, again, go into ePlate. Once you have logged into ePlates from the main menu, the Plates tab, you're going to select that drop down. From that drop down, you're going to go towards the bottom and you're going to see the vehicle transfer notification option in there. And when I refer to IMS, that is the inventory management system. So once you log in through that web dealer portal and you're given those different applications to log into, the very far right one is going to be the inventory icon. That is the IMS, the inventory management system, which again is going to be utilized to place orders for plates. You can review those orders, and also that's going to be where you receive those orders. Okay, when it comes to reissuing those plates, you as a dealership, again, you have the flexibility to reissue them if you decide on your next sale that you want to issue general issue plates, those brand new ones from your inventory. Again, you do have that option to do so. Again, you are given that flexibility. So when it comes into those traded in plates, if you don't want to dip into your guys' own inventory, that is when you're going to utilize um, that reissuance of those traded in plates. Okay, how can we obtain the temporary blue plates? So as far as the dealer plates, whether that's the standard dealer plate or the blue dealer temporary plates, that is going to be ordered through e-licensing. And much like if you need to renew the sticker for your standard dealer plates, you're still going to utilize e-licensing for that. Okay. Okay, again, for the blue plates, am I going to assign those for test drives? In the event that it's just going to be used for test drives, then no, you're not going to go into ePlates to assign those. Okay, when it comes to submitting the paperwork for your guys' transactions, again, now you're going to be utilizing WebDealer to do so. You will be uploading those documents into WebDealer. So that evidence of ownership, that 130U form, for example, will be uploaded utilizing WebDealer. Okay, in the event that you do receive vehicles from auction, again, you are submitting the VTN, so long that it has that Texas record. But when you go to sell those vehicles, because they didn't come with plates, you're just going to issue new general issue plates.
All right, Frank, I will tag in. All right, so I have a question here. What is this webinar for? So that is a great question. This webinar is to kind of help provide additional support, another avenue and opportunity to be able to ask questions and get those answered for you guys. So the PowerPoint that you see scrolling here is on a loop, just providing some information. There is a slide that will also provide some email contacts as far as the slide here. So if you are having issues related to your shipments or allocations, your dealer plate orders or metal plate storage requirements, we do have those available contacts here for you guys as well. And if you are needing to attend any kind of training or inquiring about any kind of training that is available, this slide shows which of those trainings are available. These are all on-demand training. These are live links, so you can download this information from the materials tab. And whenever you are downloading this on a PDF version, to click on those links, just do Control and then click on that link to take you there. But they're also available on our website, and you can access them there as well. And just another reminder, if you are submitting any kind of question, any kind of error that you're receiving, please provide as much information and context as possible. If you can provide your P number, your GDN, if you're receiving any kind of error, let us know what error that is appearing on, like what screen that is on, what kind of error code you're receiving. Just provide us with as much information as possible so that we can try to help you the best way. The more information that we have, the better we can try to assist you. Because it is unfortunate on our side, if we try to follow up with a question and you respond with a new question, it does not thread that information together. So we're not able to kind of connect those together for that information. So if we do ask a follow-up question, please be sure to provide all additional context to that question and scenario. Let's see what else we have here. So there is a known issue. The system is designed to allow transfers for transactions prior to 7/1 by transferring over the buyer plate information. However, there's a known issue with this process. So at this time, if you do come across that issue, or any transactions that you're needing to submit through WebDealer that were sold prior to 7/1, at this time, you'll need to take those into your county tax office for processing. So with this new process, how will we process titles after submitting sales through WebDealer? Previously, we were submitting both 130U along with the title to the county tax office. Any changes there? So yeah, with the HB 718 effective July 1st, that does require dealers to submit those transactions electronically through our WebDealer system. So for any transactions purchased after 7/1, you will need to be ensuring that those transactions are processed through WebDealer. Essentially, you will scan and upload your original documents that are in your location, and you will upload those into the WebDealer system. Once that is done, you will retain those original documents in your deal jacket for the minimum of 4-year retention period. So you will no longer need to submit the 130U or any of the evidence of ownership to the county tax office. That will all be done electronically, and you will retain those original documents at your location. So what exactly is a VTN? I'm currently behind and need many help. So VTN stands for Vehicle Transfer Notification. A VTN must be completed when a dealership takes in a vehicle. If the vehicle has assigned a Texas General Plate number, when completing the VTN, it will automatically import that plate number into your inventory management system. And then you'll be able to use that for any e-plate assignment. So any vehicle that you take into your inventory, you will need to make sure you complete a VTN for. So regardless if it's from an auction and the plate's not transferring, still make sure that you submit a VTN. The only time you will not need to submit a VTN is for vehicles that do not have a record. So if it's a brand new vehicle on an MSO or MCO, or if it's an out-of-state vehicle, those we're not going to be required to submit a VTN because there's not a record to submit a VTN for. Just to clarify, I can walk into any tax office to process transactions with my customers since I don't have any plates. That is correct. So if you did not complete your web dealer training, if you did not get on web dealer as directed before April 30th, you may not have received plates at this time. So if you have not, you will need to continue processing those over the counter at the county. How soon should stores be able to see their plate allotment in IMS? So that inventory should automatically be received in IMS for you. So you should already have access and be able to view that inventory that you have received. If you do not see that inventory, make sure a couple things are checked. Check your dealer ID. So you should have received an email communication letting you know which dealer ID was associated to that allotment. Also ensure that your permissions are set accordingly in WebDealer to ensure that you do have that view inventory option selected. My dealership has plates for out-of-state cars, but not for RVs. Do I need to order these? So no, that's going to be the same plate, whether it's a regular vehicle, an RV, trailer, a motorcycle, whatever it may be that's being sold. If it's going out of state, you'll use that out-of-state buyer plate. Are VTNs required for dealer trades? If yes, how would I upload it without putting license plate number if we're not selling it yet? So within the VTN process, you can search by either the plate and the last four of the VIN or just by the VIN number. So if you're doing a dealer trade, then you just enter the VIN number, and then it should also give you an option to select the selling dealer that you're buying it from, if that makes sense. And if you have received inventory to one location, but you need to transfer that to a different location in IMS, you are able to do so. There is a handout available in the Materials tab that you can download for, let's see, it says Access IMS Access through Web Dealer. So that is the document that you can download for assistance with transferring inventory from one location to another. But just keep in mind that it does need to be within the same GDN. So you cannot transfer inventory from one GDN to another. It does have to be within the same GDN. Do penalties still apply if not able to transfer or to register a vehicle within the 30 days? Yes, so that has not changed. That 30-day title transfer is still a requirement for cash transactions or 45 days for in-house finance. But yes, that has not changed. Question here, question about IMS. I'm trying to order our dealer plates, the blue ones, and still don't have the option to select product order. I currently only have 3 options on display. So 2 things there. If you're trying to order the blue dealer temporary plates, those are going to be ordered through e-licensing, not through IMS. So please go to your e-licensing portal to order those blue dealer temporary plates. For other plates that you're attempting to order, that product order has not been enabled quite yet to order additional inventory. So yeah, make sure you're ordering those blue dealer temporary plates through e-licensing. Question, can dealers still transfer regular license plates to a new vehicle? So if you're referring to the recent changes with SB 1902, that does allow the plates that were on a vehicle previously to be carried over to another vehicle of that same class within 10 days. So basically allows a customer, if they have traded in a vehicle to you and they're purchasing another vehicle from you within the same classification, essentially they can carry forward that same plate to their new vehicle, to the new vehicle that they are purchasing. So once that VTN is done and you are saying that you were taking in that vehicle and that plate retains with the vehicle, once that VTN is done in the system, it will automatically transfer that plate inventory into your IMS, which would then be available as an e-plate assignment for a new vehicle. Do we assign agent plates every time we do a test drive? So no, you do not have to do an e-plate assignment for every test drive. We only recommend to do that if that vehicle is going to be leaving your possession, kind of semi-temporarily permanent. So I did not say that quickly. So if they are taking the vehicle from your possession, if they're taking it, say, overnight or for a couple of days to test drive that vehicle, kind of test it out, see if they like it, but that vehicle is leaving your possession overnight or for a couple of days, that is when you'd want to do that e-plate assignment to be able to let basically enforcement know who is in operation of that vehicle and who's in control of that vehicle at that time. So if it's just a test drive down the street, then no, you do not need to do an e-plate assignment. However, if that vehicle is leaving with, if that customer is leaving with the vehicle as, for a few days or as a loaner vehicle, that is when you'd want to do that e-plate assignment for those dealer plates. To order more general issue plates than our allotment, can you tell us the step-by-step process in e-licensing to be allotted more? So if you are referring to your dealer plates, so I think we're maybe getting information mixed up there. So if you're referring to your dealer plates, that is through e-licensing, and that is a separate process. But if you're referring to the general issue plates, if you're needing to request an additional allotment for those plates, the general issue plate or any other plate you may have received for your inventory, then reach out to that dealer_allocations inbox for additional assistance on that allocation. How can we obtain the temporary blue plates? So again, those temporary dealer plates are going to be ordered through e-licensing. For the purple plates, do those need to go back to the dealer? And so the purple provisional plate is not required to be returned to the dealer. You may just let them know to properly dispose of that plate. So if they either want to turn that into the county tax office, if they want to bring that back to you, if they just want to deface it, hang it on their wall, just to ensure it's not being reused. And it does not have to be returned back to you at the dealership. Please repeat about how to upload VTN. So for the VTN, you're going to do that under ePlates. So within ePlates, under the dropdown, let's see, what dropdown would that be? So under plates is where you'll go and then select vehicle transfer notification. What do we use for export vehicles? So if you do have a vehicle that's being exported, it's not going to be titled or registered in the state or the country, then you will need to obtain a temporary registration plate. That is basically the plates that have taken place of the 30-day permits. Those are going to be obtained from a county tax office or regional service center, and that is the only plate that can be used for export sales. And we have someone that has sold a car with a salvage title, has not arrived in the name of the dealer. What plate would we give it? You would not assign any kind of plate for a salvage vehicle. So salvage vehicles are not legally operated to be on the road, so no plate would be assigned to a salvage vehicle. What situation would we need to walk into the county tax office? So right now, any transactions that you had before July 1st, so any vehicles that you took into your inventory before July 1st and sold, those will need to go through the county tax office for processing at this time. Also, anything that you may encounter in WebDealer. So if there's any kind of error that you may occur or any system limitations. So there's still not everything that can be processed in WebDealer. There are still limitations that cannot be processed in WebDealer. For instance, if it is a salvage title, salvage titles cannot be processed in WebDealer. So some of those situations will still exist, and you will need to continue taking those into the county. I've got a question. In attempting to assign a purple plate, my choices are truck less than 1 ton and truck greater than 1 ton. Which one which one refers to a portion. So really either one can be selected for a portion because those weights are going to be determined once they apply for that plate at the regional service center. So just select the one that's most appropriate. Basically, if it's more than a 1 ton truck, then you would select that, or if it's less than 1 ton, then you would select that option. So if a customer purchased a vehicle, do we issue a temporary blue plate or we assign a regular issue plate? So if you are doing a retail sale transaction and that customer has purchased that vehicle, you will assign a general issue plate to that vehicle. Those blue dealer temporary plates are only for dealer use. So that's what you're going to use for test drives, if you're needing to take the vehicle to or from service, to or from auction, any kind of transportation for business use. Cannot be used for personal use. But if you are doing a retail sale transaction, that customer will get a regular general issue plate. Can we purchase red temporary registration plates at any time, even if we already have plates in stock? So those the red temporary registration plates you will not have in your inventory. Those plates can only be assigned and issued by county tax offices or regional service centers, because those are the plates that took place of the 30-day permits and the one-trip permits. So again, those can only be issued by county tax office or regional service center. So you would need to go through them to request and order those plates. They are not plates that you will receive for your inventory. What do I do if the selling dealer did not submit the VTN? So you as the buying dealer will be the one to complete the VTN. The selling dealer will not need to submit a VTN, only the buying dealer. So if you're taking an inventory, that is when you will submit the VTN. If we are doing a dealer trade with brand new vehicle, well, we need to have a dealer temporary plates placed on that vehicle, and will we get those back? So essentially, if you are transporting vehicles either to another dealer, to an auction, wherever that vehicle may be going, once that vehicle is leaving your dealership's possession, you will want to remove that dealer temporary plate and take that back with you to your dealership. So that will not remain on the vehicle once your dealership has relinquished possession of that vehicle. So yes, you want to make sure you do get those plates back because those plates are assigned to your dealership. So what is the process if we need to report a lost or damaged plate? So it may depend on which plate you're referring to. If you're talking about the general issue plate, those can be reported in IMS. So that handout that we have available in the materials tab will kind of help with that process of how to report those issues with the plates. If you're referring to the temporary plates, those can be reported through e-licensing. When an e-plate on the purchaser information, does the county automatically pull up depending on county? So yeah, essentially that is going to be triggered by the zip code. So whenever you're entering that customer's information and you enter the zip code, that will pre-populate available counties per that zip code. So there was a question that I'm just kind of help clarify and provide a correction for. Where can I process a title from if it's being changed from salvage to rebuilt? So you're going to submit those to your county tax office. Those will not go to regional service center. So any applications transferring from salvage to rebuilt will be done at your county tax office. That's when you'd want to make sure you have the VTR 61, the rebuilt affidavit, and all that kind of good stuff to go with that application. But those will go to your county. Do you do a VTN on trailers being brought into inventory just as you would a motor vehicle? Yes. So anything that you're taking in, whether it's a trailer, travel trailer, motorcycle, motor vehicle, and whatever it may be, yes, you do want to ensure that you are submitting a VTN. So all exempt transactions will still need to go through our local tax office. That is correct. So the county will still need to process those transactions. And in fact, there is no plate that can be assigned to those specific transactions. So that transaction will need to be applied for by the county. Once the county processes that and that exempt plate is provided, that will then be provided to that customer. No other plate can be assigned for those scenarios. When we issue a metal plate to the customer, do we need to update anything in IMS? No, so those systems are linked. So once you assign a plate in ePlate, the IMS will automatically update and your inventory will reflect accordingly. We were assigned 2 out-of-state plates. Can we order more just to keep as a backup, or we can only keep the same amount we were provided? So there was a specific allocation provided per GDN based on previous sales for 2024. So if once you use at least 50% of that quarterly allocation, and a quarterly allocation is actually 6 months of sales history. So you should have received enough based on your sales history, but it is a quarterly basis. So once you have used at least 50% of that allocation is when you'll be able to order more inventory once that product ordering function is enabled. What is the acceptable type of storage required for license plates? So it does have to be locked and secured room. So it can be a closet, safe, or steel cabinet. Must be bolted or fixed to the floor or the wall. Essentially, you want it to be a secured area that no one can come in and out of. So you don't want it to just be in like your office. If people are in and out of your office throughout the day, it does need to be in a secure location with limited accessibility to that and only people that are able to access that inventory. So just kind of keep controls over that and ensure that employee access is limited to those plates.
All right, Laura, I'm going to jump in here for the last 30 minutes here.
All right, thank you, Frank.
So yes, everybody, we have about 30 minutes here. We are still working on getting those answers in. With this 30 minutes, again, I would advise utilizing this time to make sure that you have those handouts downloaded. There's two different ones. There's going to be this presentation that we have going on cycle in there. There's going to be a lot of good information in there. So we do have some email contacts for any specific inquiries that you might have. We're going to have a training slide that provides different links for different trainings. For example, we have our web dealer trainings, but we also have our new trainings on there, the e-plate training, which walks you through how to assign plates. Also talks about the internet down process, the dealer plates. So that'll be available in those handouts. But let's continue on here. So again, what is a VTN? A VTN and where that'll be done. So a VTN is a vehicle transfer notification. Again, these are going to be required for you all to submit when vehicles are entering your guys' inventory, whether that's from a trade-in, so you're receiving that from a customer, or maybe that was purchased from a dealer, or maybe an auction. You are going to submit the VTNs for that. That notifies the DMV that those are entering your guys' inventory. It's also going to cover the liability for that previous owner. Um, so yes, as those vehicles are entering your inventory, you will be submitting those VTNs. And how to access that, that is going to be through ePlate. In the Plates tab, you're going to go towards the bottom. You're going to see that vehicle transfer notification option. Okay, in the event that a customer um, decides that they're not going to purchase that vehicle, so long as you didn't already submit that transaction to the county and they reviewed it and you had collected or they had collected the payment for it. In ePlate, you can void out that assignment. You're just going to go in there and void it out so that you can reuse that plate as needed. But yes, you're just going to void it out in ePlate in the event that that deal unwinds.
Hey, Frank, real quick. I got a response on one of the questions I had inquired about, and I just kind of want to provide some additional information real quick. So for the dealer temporary plates, there has been several questions throughout the webinar today if they need to be received into IMS. No, the dealer temporary plates will not need to be received into IMS. They are automatically loaded into your inventory for you. If you are having issues with assigning those dealer temporary plates in ePlate, that is going to be a separate issue that that we have become aware of. So if you are having issues with assigning those dealer temporary plates, just kind of hang tight, and we're trying to work on getting that fixed on our side. But there's nothing that you need to do on your end to verify or receive those dealer temporary plates on your side. Okay, thank you.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Laurie. The next question here, just moving along. What are the purple buyer provisional plates for? Again, these are plates used when you don't have the available plate type in your inventory. One of the more common examples is going to be in the event that your customer needs abortion plates. But yes, that is going to be when you are issuing those purple provisional plates. Okay, we have an out-of-state customer coming in to buy a vehicle from us. Which plate do I issue? So those plates, again, those are going to be those green out-of-state plates. Once you log into ePlate and you are doing that plate assignment, you're going to mark that it's going to be titled and registered outside of Texas. Once you have selected that option, it's going to give you another pop-up there on the right. It's going to allow you to add that green out-of-state plate. Again, you're just selecting that plate that you'll be assigning to that vehicle so that that customer can leave your lot and title and register in their state. Okay, again, when do we need to enter a VTN? All cars bought from auction or only trade-in. So again, that is going to include from trade-ins from customer, also from other dealers, or if that is purchased from auction, you are going to submit those VTNs. Now, if they are coming from out of state and they don't have that Texas record, then yeah, you're not going to submit it in those cases. And as well as if it's a brand new vehicle with a MCO, for example, in those cases, you would also not submit a VTN. Okay, if you're low on out-of-state plates, or any plate for that matter, being the purple provisional or any general issue plates, again, once you hit below that 50% mark from what you were allocated, then absolutely start ordering those plates. In the event that you run out of those green out-of-state plates and you need to issue a plate, just for the out-of-state plate, you will need to go to the county tax office or regional service center and get a red temporary registration plate for those customers. Okay, where can I process the title change from salvage to rebuilt? Again, these are remaining the same. So that process is not changing. So for that rebuilt status, again, you're going to get with the tax office to do so. Okay, the next trainings that we have, whether this afternoon or tomorrow, again, we have the same exact training in the morning and in the afternoon. They're going to be the same format, so just the open Q&A. So if you want to attend those sessions, absolutely do so. Again, we have one more in the afternoon, then two more tomorrow, and those can be located on the DMV's website. You're just going into the calendar and registering for these webinars. Excuse me. Okay. How do you obtain the red temporary registration plates, and do they have an expiration date? So yes, the red temporary registration plates, those are going to be obtained from either the regional service center or the county tax offices. And there's going to be two options for those plates. You're going to have the one trip option and also the 30-day option. And whether that's coming from the county or the regional service center, they will provide the sticker along with the plates when that individual goes to apply for them. Okay, when it comes to the standard dealer plates, again, those are the plates that you might have had previously to July 1. That's not to be confused with the blue dealer temporary plates, but those standard dealer plates, again, those continue to exist. You can use them alongside the blue dealer temporary plates. For those standard dealer plates, you can use those for personal use, and you can assign those in ePlate as well. Okay, where can we get more details about acceptable uses of the blue plates without assignments to the VIN? Again, kind of a quick reference when it comes to assigning those blue dealer temporary plates for test drive purposes. You're not going to assign them in E-plates. Otherwise, anything else, examples would be transporting them to service locations or maybe to an auction, right? So if that vehicle is going to be transported, that is when you're utilizing E-plate to log that information. Some other examples can include a loaner vehicle, but for test drives, again, you're not going to go into ePlate and assign them for every vehicle that is going to be test driven for. Okay, if a customer purchases a vehicle, do we issue a blue plate or assign the regular issue plates? Okay, again, you're going to be issuing the standard dealer plates, being those black and white plates that will have that star on the top left corner. That is going to be what you're using. Again, it's got to be applicable to that transaction so that that customer can leave your lot. That plate becomes permanent once the transaction has been submitted to the county and the county has reviewed it, approved it, and collected the payment and provided that sticker for that customer. Okay, when it comes to transporting vehicles to or from auction, again, you're going to be able to utilize either the standard dealer plate or the blue dealer temporary plate. So you do have those options. So if you're transporting it to auction, you would assign that plate an E-plate, transport it there, then remove that plate and take it back with you guys to your guys' dealership so that you can reuse it. But yes, again, for auction to or from, it's going to be the standard dealer plates or the blue dealer temporary plate. And when I'm talking about the standard dealer plates, I'm referring to those black and white ones again. Again, you might have had those already. Those again are associated with your 2-year license. So those again will coexist with the blue ones, the blue dealer temporary plates. Now, in the event that you have vehicles that are going to be for export, you're still going to go into ePlate and mark that accordingly. You'll enter in that vehicle's information, the customer's information, but there is going to be an option on the sales portion. We're adding that sales date, and you're going to mark it for export use. Much like the title only option, when plates aren't being issued, you're still going to go into ePlate so that you can mark that for the record. Okay, next question. Can we reassign the same dealer temporary plate to a different vehicle as we change vehicles? And where on Web Dealer will we input the information for these blue plates? So you're going to be inputting that information in ePlate. But yes, you can reassign those blue dealer temporary plates, and you're going to use those for your business purposes as you need them. So you can, as a business, move them around for those business purposes. But when you go to assign them to a different vehicle, yes, you're going to be utilizing ePlate. Okay, another reminder here, because we have a question, what are the buyer provisional tags? Can they be used for test drives? So no, the only plate that you should be using for test drives is going to be either the standard dealer plate or the blue dealer temporary plates. Again, those purple buyer provisional plates are used when you don't have that available plate type in your inventory. That is going to be when you utilize that purple plate. But test drives, those are going to be one of the dealer plates. Okay, next question. Will dealers have combination plates in their inventory? Those are a part of the eligible plates that you could potentially receive. Again, that'll be based on your license type, but you are able to get those combination plates so that you can assign them. So yes. Okay, explanation a little bit further about the export vehicles for the record. Um, so yes, in ePlate, when you're going to mark it for export, Again, you're going to fill out the information for the plate assignment. Once you get to the sales portion, when you're entering in the sales date, there is going to be an option to where you mark that that vehicle is going to be for export. Once you mark yes, you'll save that assignment so that that reflects in the record. And again, when it comes to that, we do have, again, that training that we've been referring to. It's going to be the ePlate training. That's going to be in the handouts and also in the chat box. There's going to be a link for it, but it does walk you through that export option and explains how to get there and mark it. Much like the title only option, there'll be an example in there as well for those scenarios. Okay, when it comes to the blue dealer temporary plates, if you did not receive them, how can I order them? Again, these are not going to be a part of your initial shipment, so those blue dealer temporary plates, you have to go into e-licensing and order them. Okay, next question here. In the event that you need to have corrected some information on a plate assignment, yes, you are going to be able to go in there and void it out and reassign that plate with the corrected information. Again, always you want to ensure before submitting that you are entering that correct information. But if you do need to make changes, yeah, you're just going to void it out, update that information, and reassign it. Okay, more clarification on the VTN. Again, kind of a good rule of thumb here. So if that vehicle has never been titled or registered in Texas, then you wouldn't need to submit a VTN. Otherwise, you are still going to submit them, again, whether that's from auction or trade-in or from another dealer. Okay, for apportioned, the portion or the provisional plates will be assigned until they get the provisional plate. That is correct. So for customers needing apportioned plates, for them to be able to leave your lot, you are going to issue the purple provisional plate. Again, that'll be valid until that apportioned plate is assigned. Once it is assigned, that purple plate now has a 7-day expiration time. Okay, for the out-of-state plates, where there's going to be ordered and what colors are those. So the out-of-state plates, those are going to be green, and those are going to be ordered through IMS. And the only thing that you're ordering through e-licensing are the dealer plates. Otherwise, everything else will be through IMS. That includes the out-of-state plates, which are green, the purple provisional plates, and the general issue plates. And as another reminder, the red temporary registration plates, those are only obtained from the regional service centers or a county tax office. Okay, for the VTN and E-plates, to locate that, once you have logged into E-plate, you're going to have that menu on the top. You're going to be looking for the Plates tab. Under that Plates tab, once that drop-down menu opens, you're going to go towards the bottom. You're going to find that Vehicle Transfer Notification option in there. Okay, and when it comes to that purple provisional plates, again, it's best practice to have that plate returned. It's not required, but we do highly recommend it. Again, you want to make sure that those purple provisional plates are not being misused. So you want to make sure that those are getting destroyed. Again, cutting them up with some metal shears, taking them into a metal recycler, or providing those to the regional service center. Okay, and if you guys need any help with submitting transactions in WebDealer, again, we do have a training video that walks you through those transactions. We have a normal transaction, so a passenger vehicle option. Then we also have an example for off-highway and also a trailer transaction if needed. We do have those in our videos so that you can watch again if you need to take some more training on how to submit those web dealer transactions. Those are available in the handouts on the training slide, but you can also locate them on our website. I am going to include the 3 trainings one more time in the chat box here for visibility. In there's going to be the metal plate changes training, the IMS training, and also the E-plate training. But again, those can also be found in the links on our handout because we are coming up on this end time here. So with that, we are going to leave it open up. We're going to leave it open here for a few more minutes so that you can make sure that you get those handouts downloaded. We'll have some individuals closing out some of the questions that they're working on. So that does conclude our time. Again, we thank you all for joining us and asking us all these questions and making us aware of any issues that you might be having. We are hosting again another one in the afternoon. So if you want to register for those, go onto the websites, go onto our calendar, and then register for those courses. But that does conclude the training. Again, thank you all for joining us. I know this is a lot of information to take in, but we are here to assist you. And again, with this few minutes that you have, make sure you get these handouts downloaded. But again, thank you guys and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.